What's up, everybody? Andrew Cooper here. It is time for that Sunday aftermath show where we comb through all the NFL games from week 10 and tell you what was important: snap counts, rushes, carries, targets, who got hurt, who got didn't. Try and make sense of things that happened. So let's dig in. Just want to give a shout out to Fantasy Alarm, Pro Football Focus, Fantasy Pros, Fantasy Points Data Suite, StatHead at Pro Football Reference. Just a lot of different sources that we derive as much information as we can to kind of figure out what happened and go through the important things. And since it's getting close to crunch time, we got playoffs coming up. I'm going to focus mostly on what's important for fantasy football. So, a lot of these offenses, not a lot has changed over the week. So we'll, let you know where big things have changed and where they haven't. First game here, we'll look at the Panthers Giants. This one does have some moving parts, which is good. Adam Thielen's going to be back, right? And he's hypothetically, unless they decide to go with all the younger guys, is going to take one of the top two spots. This week, we saw Xavier Leggett and Jalen Coker lead this team in routes run and targets. Leggett has led every week, and he's a first-round pick, so we expect him to be the guy there. So the question is whether Coker can maintain that role versus Adam Thielen. And we're hoping that David Moore definitely goes on the way back side because, he's a veteran, he's a journeyman. What exactly is the upside of using him a ton? So I think it's going to be Leggett and Thielen, but it could be Leggett and Coker. Both should probably be rostered in deeper leagues, but I'd focus on Xavier Leggett. Jatavian Sanders once again played a big snap share, 53 of 60 snaps. He only does this when Tommy Tremble is out, 25 of 28 reps. This is a guy that I really like in dynasty leagues. In redraft, though, when Tommy Tremble gets back, and again, they have their bye this week, he could kind of throw a wrench into things. And of course, Chuba Hubbard, once again, was the man. He played awesome. When Jonathan Brooks gets out there, we'll have to see. And Bracelet Young honestly looked pretty good. They're winning games. So, again, deeper leagues, super flex leagues, he's probably rostered, but deeper leagues, maybe something to think about. On the Giants side, it's Malik Neighbors. He's the guy. Wan'Dale Robinson played a big snap share. Darius Slayton was out this week, so Jalen Hyatt played a ton, but Slayton almost always plays over Hyatt. Hyatt didn't look super efficient there. Theo Johnson's gotten a decent snap share as of late, 69 of 75 snaps. He does block on some pass plays, but he ran 35 of 42 routes, which is fine. Since Andrew Thomas was out, he blocked on seven pass plays, essentially in all three of the last games. But if he's going to get 6 targets, then, hey, you know what? He's worth again, probably tight end premium FFPC type thing than a regular league. But we'll have to see. If one of Neighbors or Wan'Dale Robinson goes down, now he's in a spot where he could be getting consistent, decent targets the way we see with a guy like Kate Otten or like we see with Dallas Goedert when someone's hurt. So keep an eye on him there. And then, as we all know, Tyrone Tracy is awesome. Also worth noting that Daniel Jones has one of, if not the best playoff schedules for passing down the stretch here. The Giants play in the fantasy playoffs, which is week 15, 16, 17 in most leagues. He gets Jacksonville, the Rams, and Buffalo. So great news for Tracy. Great news for Daniel Jones as well. Next game, Patriots Bears. The Patriots, very strange and kind of annoying. I am a Patriots fan. I keep it unbiased for the fantasy football stuff, but very strange that they were looking to trade Kendrick Bourne, and then they didn't do that. But then they decided not to have him play. So last week he played 78% of the snaps. This week he played none. So very weird. They said they wanted to go with the younger guys. Kayshon Boutte has quietly played the most snaps since Drake May took over. This week he played 62 of 64, and no one else played more than 29. So right now, Kayshon Boutte is looking like a guy that they like having out there the entire time. Demario Douglas also got 5 targets. Yeah, and he was kind of rotated around a bit, but that's a guy that obviously in full PPR runs kind of low A dot routes, but gets targeted a decent amount. And then Jalen Polk scored the touchdown. I would love to see, if they're just going to go with the younger guys, I'd love to see KJ Osborne kind of go away and maybe Javon Baker play a little more. Hunter Henry played 57 of 64 snaps, ran 25 of 29 routes, all good things. But then Austin Hooper gets more targets. Hunter Henry does barely anything this week. So, I thought we could trust him. I guess we cannot. I'm still going to hold on to him and use him where I see fit. But I mean, tough to have games like this because there's enough guys out there that just never have a game with 2 targets. It's kind of a shame. But if something were to happen to Austin Hooper, I guess maybe he'd be a little better off. But I don't know. It's tough, man. He was doing so. He's a tight end 8 in PPR over the last 4 weeks. So I'm probably going to stick with him in spots where I have him where it's really thin. But you can probably do better in most leagues. Ramondre Stevenson, 45 snaps. He led in all phases. Pass downs, run downs, everything. JaMychal Hasty played 12. Antonio Gibson played 7. So Stevenson's still playing a big snap share. On the Bears side, They should, at this stage, they should probably consider getting rid of Shane Waldron. DJ Moore has been visibly frustrated on the field. DJ Moore played 58 snaps. This is out of 60, 58 out of 60. Keenan Allen, 56 out of 60. So those are your two full-time guys. And then Roma Dunze was the third guy, 41 snaps. But he played most of the pass plays. So it's like, kind of a toss-up with these guys. Cole Kmet has been impossible to start. He got so many targets in that one game that Keenan Allen missed. But, again, very deep leagues with lots of flexes or 10 in premium, maybe. But most leagues, you really can't trust that guy. DeAndre Swift got 40 of 60 snaps. Roshan got 20. And Swift got 16 carries to 1 for Roshan. Swift also ran 18 routes, and Roshan ran 12. So Roshan is kind of a backup in every sense. Next game here, Bills with no Amari Cooper and no Keon Coleman. Here's what they did. They took Curtis Samuel and Mac Hollins and put them on the outside. Khalil Shakir retained his kind of slot role. Samuel got a lot of looks on the outside. Shakir got looks on the inside. Mac Hollins is your field stretcher, so hard to trust outside of best ball. Dalton Kincaid looked good in the first quarter, two receptions, couple big chunk plays, and then he hurt his knee. And then in the second quarter, played like 2 snaps. In the third quarter, tried to play, played 1 snap, and then was done. So we'll have to see if he can come back for next week. But Dawson Knox could be on the radar, especially if guys are going to stay banged up over there. The Bills have their bye week 12. So it's one more game, and then, it makes a lot of sense to hold the guy out like that for this game if they have the bye week and just get his knee right. James Cook led the way, 41 of 74 snaps. Ty Johnson played over Ray Davis because he plays on pass downs. Ray Davis would be, if anything were to happen to James Cook, they would probably split it where Ray Davis is the rundown guy, Ty Johnson's the pass down guy. That makes Ray Davis the better handcuff. But, in terms of who to start, I mean, you can't really start Ty Johnson or Ray Davis, honestly. On the Colts side, with no Michael Pittman, we saw Alec Pierce play his normal role on the outside. Adonai Mitchell played outside opposite him. And then Josh Downs played in his normal slot role where he got a lot of targets, as he always does. But because he's that slot guy, you saw Mitchell and Pierce both played 37 routes, 37 out of 39. Downs 28 out of 39 because he comes out for any sort of 2 tight end sets. And they use a lot of tight ends. Mo Alley Cox, Colin Granson, Andrew Ogletree, Will Mallory. They all played a bunch of snaps. Nobody ran enough routes. Nobody got targets. Tight end's not really a factor there. Jonathan Taylor, obviously lead dog, 53 snaps. Tyler Goodson played ahead of Trey Sermon, probably because he's better on pass downs. So, again, if anything were to happen, we'd have to see how it would shake out. But no one got carries besides Jonathan Taylor, so it didn't really matter in the carry front. But I think they would probably have Trey Sermon on rundowns and Tyler Goodson on the pass downs. For the Vikings, we get the Vikings at Jaguars here. On the Vikings side, Justin Jefferson led everybody. Awesome. Jordan Addison was the wide receiver 2. He played a ton as well. Jalen Naylor was the wide receiver 3 that came out for 2 wide receiver sets. So he only ran 23 of 42 routes. TJ Hawkinson, we needed to see him play a little more. He still didn't actually play 50% of the snaps. He played 39 of 84, but he ran 30 of 42 routes and he got 9 targets. That's enough for us to know that he's going to be involved here. Josh Oliver in the revenge game versus the Jaguars got 6 targets, but TJ Hawkinson is a guy now, I mean, given what we've seen here, that we're going to want to put in lineups because I think that he can potentially operate ahead of Jordan Addison. So if he's a top 2 target with Justin Jefferson with his skill set and Sam Darnold playing well, got to get him in there. Aaron Jones left briefly with a rib issue, but came back. If he were to be out, it would be Cam Akers. I mean, Cam Akers got 13 carries, ran 11 routes. He was playing well ahead of Ty Chandler. Cam Akers, you keep an eye on him to see if, might be worth an ad. We're going to break it down in the waiver wire article. I'm going to dig into, this rib issue for Jones. He did come back in the game, though, so you can't really say that he's going to be out for extended period, even if he does miss one game. But Cam Akers is the guy ahead of Ty Chandler, for anyone wondering. Jaguars, you had Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis as the 2 outside guys, Parker Washington as the slot guy. This is a very weird game script because of some turnovers, because of some shenanigans on special teams, that the Vikings played 84 snaps and the Jaguars only played 44. So very strange game script in terms of total snaps. Evan Engram and Brenton Strange with Mac Jones got the targets. Engram got 8. Got to be happy with that. He ran 23 of 27 routes. Engram's kind of a locked-in guy. I really don't care who the quarterback is as long as Doug Peterson's calling the plays. Travis Etienne played ahead of Tank Bigsby in every way. 11 carries and 12 routes to 2 for Bigsby and 6 routes. Not sure if Bigsby got banged up or what, but I mean, Yeah, he did actually have an ankle injury now that I remember. So he kind of was limited and left the game. So Travis Etienne would be wheels up if Tank Bigsby were miss. So they probably still use Dernis Johnson a little bit or whoever else they plan on using. It would be Dernis, but I think Etienne, it would be a lot better for his value if he were to miss any sort of time. Tank Bigsby. Broncos at the Chiefs. Justin Watson played his sacrificial X role, a bunch of snaps there. Xavier Worthy. So 53 for Watson, 51 for Worthy, 44 for DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is obviously the preferred target. Tough matchup with Patrick Surtain, but he did what he could. Hopkins is going to be in a much better spot uh, anytime he's not playing a team like that, which this is the second time they've played. So no more dealing with Patrick Surtain. Oh, actually, they play again, but it's week 18. So we don't have to worry about that for fantasy, which is great news. Travis Kelsey was excellent as well. Obviously, Hopkins had the tough matchup, so he had 11 targets. Noah Gray did his thing as the inline tight end, uh, which I mean, no, I'd rather start Noah Gray than any tight end on a team like the Colts, for instance. So not crazy. I mean, like he's usually ranked inside the top 32 for me. Kareem Hunt led the way. We'll have to see what happens when Isaiah Pacheco gets back, but he's a great start up until then and possibly after. With Denver Broncos, this is where we saw at least one change, right? On the running back front, they kind of started Jaleel McLaughlin, had Javante on pass downs, and Audric Estime mixed in, and he looked good and kind of got the hot hand. Sean Payton is a hot hand type guy, so Estime got a ton of carries. He's got to be a waiver ad. He's going to be the top running back waiver ad because they're just without an injury, there's so few real like changes or opportunities to change. You know what I mean? Like even with some of the bad teams like the Patriots, like no one's just going to come out and overtake Ramondre Stevenson, right? Like most of these jobs are settled, so you got to at least take a shot here. This might be your last shot without an injury. So Audric Estime has to be added. Cortland Sutton led the wide receivers this week. Devon Vele was ahead of little Jordan Humphrey and Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims, but Sutton played 53 of 57. Vele played 37 of 57, so still behind. But Vele is probably your best bet right now of that group there. At tight end, Lucas Kroll just not playing enough. Obviously, Greg Dulcich not playing at all. So only 12 snaps for Lucas Kroll. Adam Trotman is an inline tight end and, got one target. Can't start any of these guys. Again, like I said, I'd rather start Noah Gray right now than anyone on this team as well. Next game here, let's take a look at the Falcons and Saints game. On the Saints side, you had Marquez Valdez Scantling. So no one played the full game for the Saints, for the wide receivers. Very strange. They used a lot of multiple tight end sets, but of 53 snaps, MVS led with 29. Mason Tipton had 29 as well, but MVS ran 18 routes to 16 for Tipton. Tipton, 0 catches on 4 targets last week, 0 targets this week. I mean, I was chasing the snaps, but he's not doing anything with the role. Kevin Austin was the wide receiver 3. When Chris Olave gets back, it'll probably be Olave and MVS. So I don't know, maybe a deeper dart throw type ad, but they go on bye in week 12. So it's like you got 1 week to maybe start him against Cleveland. I don't know, kind of dicey. Alvin Kamara was awesome. Besides the dropping the big pass there, they don't really have any other running backs. So Jordan Mims played a bunch, and Taysom Hill played some running back. And then, Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson and Taysom Hill have some weird rotation where it's hard to trust anybody. So if you're going to use anyone, it would be Taysom Hill. On the Falcons side, much more consolidated snaps, like way more consolidated. The 3 wide receiver sets, listen to this. Of 78 snaps, Drake London played 78. Darnell Mooney played 77. Ray McLeod played 77. This team currently plays more 3 wide receiver snaps per Sumer Sports than any other team. They're at like 86, and the next highest team is the Rams at like 82. So those guys are always out there, and then they rotate the tight ends when Pitts isn't really healthy, which is kind of often. He's been dealing with a hamstring, so they rotated them. But Pitts, he ran 30 of 41 snaps, which is fine, 5 targets, but he's just not playing the full game. And then Bijan Robinson got his role. Tyler Algier thankfully got stuffed twice at the goal line, so Bijan was able to score. But just the fact of the matter is they wanted it to be Tyler Algier. They gave Tyler Algier multiple carries at the goal line. He just got stuffed, so keep that in mind. Doesn't really matter. You're going to start Bijan every week. But Algier, again, a spot start just because every once in a while he gets those looks. 49ers game here at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On the 49ers side, So here's an interesting one. Uh, Kyle Shanahan. So Juwan Jennings took over the Brandon Ayuk role, and Debo Samuel played his role, and Ricky Pearsall played the slot role that Juwan Jennings used to play. And after the game, Kyle Shanahan said this was actually Juwan Jennings' first time playing that X role, which he's going to have to do because he's going to play it the rest of the year. So he confirmed for us that Juwan Jennings is in that role, which is great. So Juwan Jennings value boost, Debo Samuel value boost, and Ricky Pearsall, playing the Juwan Jennings role, he should be okay as well. Whatever we valued Jennings at before, it's kind of where you should value when everyone was healthy, where you value Jennings. That's kind of where you can value Pearsall. So Jennings got 11 targets. Debo got 6 and 3 carries, and Pearsall got 6 targets, and he managed to score. Kittle only got 4 targets. This is what happens sometimes when Christian McCaffrey's back, is that they didn't throw to Jordan Mason. So they threw to Kittle a little more. Now that Christian McCaffrey's back and he gets 7 targets, they throw to Kittle a little less. So you got to deal with that. With McCaffrey, 56 of 64 snaps, 3 for Isaac Guerrero, 3 for Jordan Mason. So they basically said, Jordan Mason, thank you anyway. Thank you for your service and back to the bench. So Christian McCaffrey's a must start every week. We're starting him anyway. Buccaneers with a ton of injuries. No, Chris Godwin done for the year. Mike Evans out. Now Jalen McMillan out, right? What they did is they had Ryan Miller lead the team with 52 snaps. Raheem Jarrett also playing 50 snaps, and then Sterling Shepard playing 44. I think when Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan get back, they are probably going to be the outside guys, and it'll probably be Sterling Shepard in the slot. So it would have to be a very deep league, even to roster Shepard, but I'm not really going to go after Raheem Jarrett or Ryan Miller either. Kate Otten, even in a very tough matchup, got a bunch of targets, only had 35 yards, but this team held Kelsey to 17 yards. We told you to be careful there. So that's why we had the bet, under 58 yards is kind of a lock. With running backs, Rashad White played more pass downs, 19-13, but Bucky Irving got more carries, 14-10. That's kind of how they've been doing it. 37 snaps for White, 28 for Irving. So that's how it's going to settle out. White, probably a better PPR option. Bucky, probably a better standard option. Half PPR, as always, will land somewhere in the middle. Steelers at Commanders here. Steelers, George Pickens, 63 snaps. Van Jefferson, 55. Calvin Austin did his normal slot gadget. Only 35 of 78 snaps, but he did get 6 targets. So Mike Williams scored, but he only played 9 snaps. So they're really easing him in. Pat Fryermuth ran 23 of 33 routes, but actually played fewer snaps than Darnell Washington. They go these heavy tight end sets with Washington and Michael Pruitt, and Fryermuth comes out for those. So he's kind of like in a Mike Gesicki-ish role, which the caps his upside a little bit. Connor Hayward actually played some fullback. He only played 9 snaps, but interesting usage for him. Najee Harris is your lead back on rundowns, and Jalen Warren plays on pass downs. That's the way it always is. 37 for Harris, 35 for Warren. The game script will determine who puts up more points. On Washington, Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown are the guys. We've been telling you to target Noah Brown. He dropped a touchdown pass, which stinks, but makes it easier to get him off the wire. 57 snaps each for Noah Brown and Terry McLaurin. So those are your top 2 wide receivers. Luke McCaffrey, all made his case, didn't even play half the game. Zach Ertz led once again with the tight ends. 31 of 37 routes is good. 6 targets is good. So, for a spot start, he can do fine, especially in full PPR. And then with Brian Robinson out, Austin Eckler played 45 snaps, 19 for Jeremy McNichols. Chris Rodriguez only played 5. So it's Eckler when Robinson's out. On the Chargers side, Quentin Johnston continues to lead on the outside. Ladd McConkey plays in the slot for 3 wide receiver sets and stays out there for 2 wide receiver sets. And Josh Palmer is now kind of the third fiddle guy. So it's Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey if you want to go after 2 of those guys. I still prefer McConkey, but Quentin Johnston clearly can make big plays at times. DJ Chark only played 1 snap. Will Disley has quietly, when he runs routes, he gets targets. 6 targets here. I think Nathan Yankee pointed out that Will Disley doesn't run a ton of routes and they don't throw a ton, but his targets per route run is second highest to only Evan Engram. Engram gets targeted a lot on a lot of routes. Will Disley gets targeted a lot on a few routes. So again, hard to trust a guy like that, but you could do a lot worse, especially in tight end premium or some of these Scott Fishbowl type deals. J.K. Dobbins led 39 snaps to 14 for Gus, but when Gus was in there, he got the ball. 10 carries on 14 snaps. We know what the deal with Gus is. He's a short yardage guy, nearly 240 pounds. So Dobbins is still a start, but Gus is a break glass in case of emergency start. On the Titan side, Nick Westbrook-Akine continues to play a big snap share opposite Calvin Ridley. He's scored 4 weeks in a row, did not score this week. But, you know, as far as snaps go, you could do worse in terms of dart throws, right? He ran all 32 of 32 routes. Calvin Ridley ran 28 of 32 because Ridley's actually getting the ball and getting targets and sometimes has to take a little break. Tyler Boyd played slot, 33 snaps for him, so he's a part-time guy. Chigakonkwo led, but his snap share wasn't nearly as good as last week. We were getting excited. Maybe we'll have to be less excited because he only played 29 of 54 snaps. Josh Wiley played 22, 17 of 32 routes run for Chig, and only one target. So maybe not as exciting times for Chig as we thought. Tony Pollard, 29 snaps to 25 for Tajay Spears. I mean, they kind of split it down the middle a little bit, you know. So, and Pollard hasn't been practicing because of the foot issue. So I think they're going to just split it, unfortunately. So what are you going to do? The Jets at Cardinals here. Cardinals, pretty typical for them. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson were the full-time guys. Then they mixed kind of Zay Jones and Greg Dortch. Don't worry about those guys. Trey McBride played his snaps. Elijah Higgins played a decent number of snaps. Elijah Higgins and Tip Ryman mostly blocking snaps. But if anything were to happen to Trey McBride, Elijah Higgins would be a ad right away because, you know, we did see him run a ton of routes. The one game McBride missed, we kind of confirmed that. So just keep that in mind if anything happens to McBride. James Conner led. Trey Benson got some looks, though. It was a blowout. So Trey Benson got in there, got 10 carries. Again, if James Conner, anything happens, Trey Benson goes in there. The schedule for this team down the stretch, Patriots, Panthers, Rams for fantasy playoffs. So very good for Conner and Benson. On the Jet side, just rough sledding for them. Playoff hopes probably dashed at this point. Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson played their full snap shares. Every route run for Adams and Wilson, 38 of 38 of 38. Xavier Gibson, Malachi Corley played in the slot. Not a big deal until Alan Lazard gets back. Tyler Conklin ran 25 of 38 routes, 2 targets. Can't use that guy. Brees Hall played a bunch, and you start him every week. Braylon Allen is the handcuff. You know, he kind of got carries when everything was out of hand there down the stretch. Eagles at Cowboys here. Eagles, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith were healthy. 28 routes each out of 30. A.J. Brown got more targets. Devonta Smith did his thing. He only got 3. Jahan Dotson is your wide receiver 3. Johnny Wilson scored, but he only played 18 snaps. Dallas Goedert played his typical role, maybe a little less than typical. You know, only ran 20 of 30 routes, 43 snaps. Maybe they're easing him back in off the hamstring, but it wasn't a very competitive game. So what are you going to do? Saquon Barkley is the man. Kenneth Gainwell operates ahead of Will Shipley. It's been like that for a while. On the Cowboys side, it was CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert, as expected. Who knows when Brandon Cooks will be back? Jalen Brooks and Ryan Flournoy and Kevontae Turpin and Jalen Cropper played like limited snaps and garbage time snaps, but can't really worry about them. Jake Ferguson played, 25 routes to 32, got 5 targets. He's a decent start. I guess they got to figure out the quarterback situation, but at least he's getting targets. Cooper Rush, I thought he was going to look good. I thought he looked good the week before. Did not look good this week. So that one's on me. Hope you didn't waste too many DFS lineups on him. Trey Lance is a stash in your super flex leagues and maybe deeper leagues too, just because his willingness to run. If he gets the job and he's willing to run, we've seen it time and time again. Daniel Jones looked terrible this week, terrible. But then he ran a few times to score a rushing touchdown and then kind of saved his day. Like it wasn't even that bad. Rushing is kind of the cheat code. It's broken that way. Rico Dowdle has been very efficient, but they insist on using Zeke Elliott. So Zeke got 6 carries. Dowdle got 12. I don't know why they do that, but Dowdle's definitely the better start. You can't start Zeke. And then the last game here, Lions at Texans. Very strange game. Texans had this one in the bag, and they let them off the hook, as we like to say. So Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams were the full-time players. 64 out of 65 for Amon-Ra. J-Mo played 48 out of 65, but he played ahead of everybody else by a decent amount. Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond, Allen Robinson. So those are the 2 guys that you can use there. Sam Laporta got more targets, which we like, but he hurt his shoulder. If anything were to happen to him and he were to miss time, Brock Wright could be a potential guy there. Again, it's a tough landscape, but we've seen him step in and look okay in the past. Jahmyr Gibbs led because they went down. He played a lot more pass plays and ended up leading in snaps, 39 snaps for him for 26 for Dave Montgomery. But Montgomery scored his touchdown. So things kind of worked out as they typically do for this team. That's how it typically goes. On the Texans side, we had no Nico Collins. So Xavier Hutchinson led in snaps, followed by Tank Dell. John Mechie was third. So out of 68 possible snaps, you had 57 for Hutch, 51 for Tank. Mechie played 44. Mechie scored his first touchdown, which is awesome. We love to see that. Tank Dell got 9 targets and had a carry. Dalton Schultz only got 4 targets. Can't trust Schultz under any circumstances. And then Joe Mixon was awesome. So when Nico Collins comes back, he'll replace Hutch. It'll be Nico and Tank Dell on the outside, probably Mechie in the slot, and then Dalton Schultz. But like we really can only trust Nico and Tank and Joe Mixon. So that's it. That's the wrap on this week. Tonight we have we have the Dolphins at the Rams. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully this helps you guys out. There will be 3 waiver articles coming up from me. The regular waiver article, that's a free one. It includes the tight end stuff. There'll be the streamers article for like 1 week streamers. That'll be behind the paywall. And then the stashes article behind the paywall as well. If you like this type of content, hit that like and subscribe button. It really does mean a lot to us, and you can support us for free. So thank you, everybody. Good luck with the rest of your matchups. Good luck with the rest of your season. We're going to keep on rocking and see if we can win some leagues.